It had already been a big year of adventuring for me when we got deep into the fall, and it was time to shut down our remote cabin for the season. I had to get into our property by side with my 4-year-old son Hudson. It was tough, as I could only access it via a rugged trapline trail that I'd never ridden before. It was pitch black by the time we were in striking distance of the cabin, but the next morning I discovered a real issue. And that's when things got interesting. In the days prior to this cabin adventure, deer hunting season was upon us here in Ontario. So I hauled in wood by canoe and slogged through the rain and wet snow to get trail cams set up. And pretty soon they were sending some solid bucks to my phone. Before long, my brother-in-law Michael, buddy Will, and my cousin Brad were all set up in a wall tent at deer camp for a week of hunting on remote public land. It is me, Huddy, and North, and we are cruising up to camp in the tundra. We have to close the place down for the season. We left some stuff up there we want to bring back. We're going to cut some firewood. I am towing the Segway Favourable side-by-side, and we are going to get into camp on a trapline trail. Now, this isn't going to be easy. We've never done it before. I don't think the trapper's been in there, so I did bring enough gear and food up that we could spend the night in the bush if we had to and be comfortable. Yeah, hopefully the weather clears. We're supposed to get some rain. It looks like it could be rain, snow, or anything in between. Looking forward to it, though. Hopefully it all works out. Feeling a tad nervous about this one. Good? Okay, buddy. Okay.
Ouch, 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 ouch.
Is that too tight? And then you can just put them down over your eyes?
It's not.
It's okay?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, okay. And if it gets cold, you put that down over your eyes and you pull this up over your face, okay? See how much room is back up there? Okay. Are you going to be able to hold on really tight? Can you hold on to here really tight?
I don't want to.
Into here? Okay. Okay. We are just about good to go. No idea how this adventure is going to turn out, or even if we have enough time to make it. We got some warm clothes on. There's no windshield on this puppy. Feeling pretty good. The first stretch was straightforward, and we made good time. Did you get wet?
Yeah.
I got wet too. Oh man, not too bad though, eh?
Yeah. Go down, buddy, go down,
Look at the waterfall down here. Waterfall, cool, eh? Not long after crossing a snowmobile bridge over a waterfall, I spotted what looked like the start of a trapline trail. Stuff's about to get real. Well, this is interesting because this is a trap trail. All the info I have is right after the bridge, it's on your right. But I have no idea, as far as I know, no one's been in here this year. I don't see any fresh tracks. So I might be working the chainsaw a lot. Huh? What?
Just jump into God's sake.
Okay, I'm coming, bud. Just jump in the car for God's sake. Here we go. Uh-oh. I don't see a trail here at all. And I immediately had to break out the chainsaw to clear a whole pile of downed trees. Hope we don't run into too much more of that, eh?
Yeah.
But it obviously means that the trapper hasn't been through here, so there's probably going to be some more branches to cut.
What? What does that mean?
If someone had been down this trail already, there'd be no trees down over it, you know? So it means that probably we're going to have more work to do, but that's okay.
Just a little walk.
Yeah, no biggie. If it stayed like that, it was going to be a long day. But soon, the trail opened up, and I felt confident that we were on the right route.
I think this is it, Huddy. We found the right trail, I think. Let's hope. Trapline trail. There may be traps set on this trail or near it. Well, it looks like we found the trail. So just the fact that this is a trapline trail shows that it's the right way. So this is going to lead to our cabin, okay? Okay, let's go, buddy.
Let's see if there's any traps.
We might not see any. We don't know.
Then things got rough, quick. My 6-seater side-by-side is a lot bigger than the quad bike this trail was originally cut for.
Well, the trail has gotten pretty interesting here, aka sketchy. I think I'm gonna go for it. If I don't make it across this creek, I can winch out pretty easily, so fingers crossed though.
We bounced through boulder-strewn creeks, and at one point I had to take Hudson out of the machine, set him up in a safe spot, and hammer through a mud hole that was immediately followed by a nasty incline. I barely made it up, but I pulled it off. Hudson thought the whole thing was pretty cool.
Awesome!
Yeah!
At one point, the trail basically vanished. And when that happens on a trail you've never been down before, you start asking yourself, will it be like this the whole way? Am I going to get stuck out here in the dark?
Almost there.
Soon I recognized where we were. It was a section I'd walked before. It looked like we were going to make it, but it's over 200 meters through dense bush, boulders, and a steep hill to actually reach the building. So I pulled out the chainsaw and started flagging and cutting a new trail. I'd cut a bit, go back to the side-by-side, drive along the new trail a few meters, cut some more, repeat.
Now we cut the next part.
Hudson sipped hot chocolate and supervised my activities from the passenger seat until he eventually demanded to go to the cabin.
You're doing really good, buddy. I'm really proud of you.
So we bushwhacked through the dark and in the rain trying to find it.
What's wrong?
I want to get to the cabin.
We are. Don't worry. We're going to get there. Everything's going to be okay.
I'm going to get to the cabin fast.
I know, but we can't rush. We have to just be relaxed and calm. And we'll get there, okay? You're doing it. You're doing it. Huddy, you found the cabin. Look, there it is.
Is that a good job finding the cabin?
Really good job. You found the cabin, bud. You found it.
You didn't see it.
No, you saw it first, bud.
Huddy spotted it first. We popped out of the forest right at the back door.
Huddy found the cabin. That's right, buddy. Okay, come on in.
We fired up the propane lights, got the cabin warm, and once Hudson was cozy, I went back into the rain and kept cutting the trail.
Well, back in the side-by-side, I've been cutting and cutting and cutting. And at this point, I'm at the final stretch, which is the hardest to cut, actually. So I think I did it. It might be a little tight squeeze. When I get down there, I might have to take down another tree, but I think we're good to go.
After a lot of work, I finally pulled the side-by-side right up beside the cabin.
I did it. We did it. Huddy and I did it. That was a crazy mission. I don't know what time it is, but it's been dark for a long time. What a day, I'll tell you. There's a lot involved, a lot of driving, and I'm really glad I could share it with Huddy. Obviously, it would have been faster if it was just me, but so fulfilling to be out here with him.
The next morning, I spotted something concerning. A stick was jammed straight through the sidewall of the front tire.
So Huddy, we have a bit of an issue.
Why?
Well, there's a puncture in one of the tires for the ATV.
Oh. This is emergency.
No, not an emergency. We'd be stranded if we didn't have a boat here though. Right through the sidewall of the tire. Bummer.
I figured maybe the stick might hold for the way out, and if it didn't, I could try plugging the hole while in the bush, even though the puncture was in the sidewall. Not an ideal place. I don't know how long we were riding on it like that, like not a lot of air is escaping, but I'm kind of worried that if Hudson and I head back, that might kick out and that patching it won't work. I brought a tire plug kit, but tire plugs don't typically work when used in the sidewall of a tire, only in like the top. I've never quite had an issue like that before, so that's unexpected, but stuff happens. Of course, I didn't bring a spare. I just brought the tire plug kit. You know, we do have the boat here as well. I was planning on winterizing the the 25 Yamaha there tiller, so we can get out of here, but the problem is that our car is about an hour drive from the boat launch. I decided to try to deal with it right then.
All the way up? Yeah. Boom, there you go.
I want you to do it.
You're doing it. Oh yeah, that's right through.
I pulled the stick out and used 3 plugs to fill the hole.
I'm doing it.
Oh, good work, buddy. Thank you. Yes.
The tire was holding air, but it didn't exactly inspire confidence. And with Huddy along, I thought it would probably be a bad idea to risk it.
Well, it's holding the air. I don't see any leaking coming from around the plug. But I don't know, man. To me, it's just too much of a risk to try to get out there with Huddy on that, because even if it gets me halfway and then I stop and re-plug it, I don't have any backup plugs, which is kind of foolish, just bringing 3, I suppose, but live and learn, I guess.
With the side-by-side park, Hudson and I tackled the rest of the winter prep around camp. Then, going inside, we had an epic wrestling match, and later, I grilled another batch of moose steaks with steamed broccoli, my favorite dinner.
Well, it is the end of another day here. So as far as the side-by-side goes and getting out of here, we could take the motorboat to the launch, get a drive way back up to where we left our truck, and drive home and leave the side-by-side here, potentially getting it out in the winter if the ice conditions were right. But I don't really want to leave it here. Ideally, we'd ride this thing out of here. So the other option is getting a wheel in town, but the closest town doesn't have the right size rim. So I don't know what the best option really is, but I'll wait for more information tomorrow. It's never as hard the way back as the way in, but there's
two really challenging parts. Three, but two that were particularly challenging. One where I basically bombed over a bunch of just like trees like this big around that were thrown over a creek, bombed through a swamp, turned hard right, and then went up a steep hill, barely made it. Second one where I bombed through a mud hole and then again barely made it up a steep swampy hill. That's when I had to take Huddy out just so he could be safe and put him well out of the way, and he was like, "That was awesome, Dad." Awesome! Anyways, never a dull moment, I suppose. Using the satellite texting feature on my phone, I checked in with Tori to see if she could source a tire or get one mounted on a rim in the closest town. Just trying to message Tori with the satellites here and see if she's heard anything about a new wheel getting sent up to the closest town, but it's looking like probably what I'm going to do. My safest bet is just to leave the machine here and drive back to the boat launch and then get a ride up to our truck and go home, and then get a tire and come up hopefully before there's snow like next week or something like that. But this machine might be staying here all winter. I soon learned there was no replacement tire options close by. The weather, however, was perfect, and our lake is big. With bad wind, the waves could be dangerous, especially in a small boat like the one I would be taking. But on calm days like this, it's perfect, so I decided to take advantage of the window and get out. So we're gonna have to pack up everything and take the boat, and then we're gonna get somebody to drive us up to where we left our truck. Does that sound cool?
But who's gonna drive our ATV?
We're gonna leave it here.
But we need our ATV if I want to go on the ATV.
Yeah, so we're not gonna have our ATV. Maybe Daddy will come back up and fix it another time. But for now, we're gonna get out of here because the weather's good today. Tomorrow the weather's not good, so we should get going. Okay, so let's pack up and get going, bud. Parked the side-by-side, strapped our gear onto the boat, and headed for the launch. Well, we are in the boat. We decided that while the weather's good, we should take the opportunity to get out of here, which means I'm leaving the Segway at my camp, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to get it back, but live and learn, I guess. No real emergency or anything, fortunately, because we have this boat. If we don't get a big hammering of snow, I might come back in here next week and winterize this boat, leave it here, and take the Segway back out. We'll see. Never a dull moment. Well, I think we're in luck. It looks like the waves on this big open part of the lake aren't too bad. So I'm glad we're getting out of here because this boat is super capable, but with all this gear and in November it just gets kind of sketchy to be trying to buck big white caps out on this large lake. So I think we made the right decision. Couldn't be better traveling conditions out here. Tori had arranged a ride with a local guy who runs a taxi service. He drove Hudson, North, and I all the way back to my truck and trailer, over an hour away. Then, Hudson and I hopped in a Tundra, drove back to the launch, loaded the inflatable boat into the ATV trailer, which worked perfectly, by the way, and headed home. Well, there we go. All in the day's work, and getting the ATV out from camp will be another day's adventure. Anybody who's interested in checking out one of these Swellfish inflatable boats, check the link. I have an affiliate link, so if you buy it through that link, I get a percentage of the sale. I've been using it this summer and now in the fall, and it's so awesome, man. So awesome. So the plan, come back with a new tire, winterize the boat motor, and get out of there with the side-by-side before the snow got too deep. Huddy and I got home Friday evening and spent the weekend hanging out with Tori and my other son, Wes. In the meantime, I managed to source a new tire on a rim from a Segway dealer in Sudbury, conveniently on the way back to camp. So, come Monday morning, Hudson, North, and I were back in the tundra, heading north again.
Well, me and Huddy are at it again, and I decided, well, it hasn't snowed yet, so we might as well go back and get the ATV out of the bush. So we're gonna stop at a Segway dealer in Sudbury and pick up a new tire on a rim.
We stopped at the dealer, picked up the new tire, and continued on to the boat launch. We loaded the inflatable back into the lake, strapped a spare on top of our gear, and pushed off.
Well, it's looking like it's going to be a little choppier than last time we came out here, and we got a little more weight too with the tire, so hopefully all works out. I think it will. Still a pretty decent day. This is a large lake, so the waves can get pretty nasty.
It was a cold and choppy boat ride, but at least the sun was out. There are a couple stretches on the lake where you're way out in the open and the waves can get big, so I just took it slow. And when we got within striking distance of camp, we pulled over and had a granola bar snack break before tackling the last of the choppy water.
Well, I see white caps in the distance. I'm gonna test it in this boat. It'd probably be okay if we go slow, but just November and this, you know, pretty heavily loaded. I mean, this boat can take the weight of 6 adults, so this boat's not overloaded, but there might be a lot of splash that comes with bucking these white caps. So we do have a lot of food. I have a good tarp, sleeping bags, and there's a campsite on the left. So if the waves are too sketchy, we'll just go camp out for a bit and wait till the weather breaks before making it to camp.
Once we slipped into our bay, the wind died right off. It was a beautiful mid-November day.
There's our cabin, honey. We did it! Yeah!
It was already around 3 p.m. by the time we got to camp, so pretty late. But I got to work fast. Or rather, Huddy got to work fast. He helped me put the new tire on the side-by-side, and he was genuinely a big help.
You know what's better?
Huh?
I did it! You did it again!
I did. Push down. There you go. You're getting it. Keep going.
What?
You can let that fall and you can hold these. This is a very important job.
I'll get it on.
Try again. Just use some effort. Try a different angle. We'll spin it all the way around in a circle. Good boy. Pull.
Oh no.
Okay, now roll it. Now roll it.
I can't pick it up.
You don't need to pick it up, you can just roll it.
Take that tire off.
Good work, buddy. Okay.
No, you don't. Daddy, can I do it with the wrench?
Yeah. So tighten this one, then that one, then that one, then that one, and go back and forth.
That one's tight.
Then we just go like that. 1, 2, 3, twist. Done. Good job, bud.
After that, I nailed a length of 6x6 between a pair of trees so I'd have a place to mount our 25-horse Yamaha for winterizing the next morning. We got a fire going in the cabin and cooked dinner. And yes, moose steaks and broccoli again.
Oh, having my favorite here. Moose steak and broccoli. Forgot the...
under the table.
All right. I forgot the cream horseradish though.
Since we were only staying one night, I knew the next morning was going to be full throttle. At sunrise, Hudson and I were outside and hard at it. I hauled the boat motor off, mounted it on the board, and set a garbage pail underneath.
What are you doing?
Filling up that bucket.
I filled the pail with lake water, but the thing leaked like crazy. Part of the winterizing process is running the engine for about 15 minutes to get it up to temperature before fogging it. So Hudson kept hauling buckets of water from the lake while shouting updates like, "Dad, the water's getting below the intake. We need more." Once the motor was warm, I pulled the air filter off the carb, gave it some throttle, and fogged it until it choked out. I'd never winterized this outboard before, and usually the next step is to drain the carb, but I'm not convinced that I found the right screw.
Disregard that first one where I unscrewed that. That's not how you drain the carb.
I'll have to make sure I run some sea foam through it when I start it up in the spring. I checked the lower end next. No water in the grease. So instead of draining it, I topped it off with fresh gear oil and tightened it all back up. I covered the motor with a contractor's bag and called it good. Then I hauled the Swellfish inflatable up on land, let some air out of it, leaned it up against a tree, and tied and tarped it off. By now, we were way behind schedule. Our driver was meeting us at the remote trailhead, same guy who picked us up last time, and there's no reception anywhere out there. If we were running late, we had no way to tell him, so we just hoped he'd still be there. I loaded the remaining firewood into the cabin and put the shutters on, and we pulled out along the rough trail I'd cut a few days earlier. It was still sketchy in spots, but the cold weather had firmed up the mud, so it was a much easier ride than the first time.
Yeah, we made it back to the trail. Woo! Here's something that's a little spirited. Oh boy. Well, we still have two crazy things to make it through, buddy. Oh no.
I still had to break out the saw a couple times, and at one point I got completely wedged between two trees. I ended up having to drop one of the trees with the chainsaw to free the machine. Rough sections I struggled with on the way in were much easier going the other direction, so Hudson was able to stay in the machine with me the whole ride. When we were getting to the end of the Trapline trail, he was the first to notice the main trail when we got close to it.
Is that it? Yeah! We did it! Well, we made it back to the easy trail. We're off the Trapline trail, which means we're pretty much home free, honey. We did it!
Once we hit that, I got north back in the cab and we cruised. It was still a long way, but at that point, we were basically home free. All the puddles we blasted through on the way there were frozen now, and the sun was shining. A beautiful but chilly day to be traveling through the backcountry. When we finally reached the trailhead, our driver had been waiting a while, but didn't seem too bothered. He'd brought his brother along for the ride. I left the machine there, loaded into his car, and we headed back to the boat launch. Huddy and I still had a ton of driving ahead of us. Once we reached the launch, we grabbed our truck and trailer and drove all the way back to the trailhead, loaded the side-by-side, and then finally hit the road for home. All told, it was about 6 hours of driving that day, and we rolled into the driveway at home around midnight. It was a big mission, but a fun one, and we got the job done. Bringing Hudson along definitely slowed things down a bit, and it required a lot more patience. If it was just me, I probably would have tried riding out with the stick still jammed into the tire, but with Hudson there, I wanted to keep it safe and make the whole experience something positive, fun, and memorable for him.
Awesome!
Because the truth is, when you add it all up, we don't get that much time with him. I'm really glad I brought him along. It was a great bonding time, and I could see how much he really learned out there. It won't be long before he's coming with me to deer camp, chasing those elusive big woods bucks. In the days leading up to my adventure into our cabin with Huddy, deer hunting season had rolled around, and it was time for me to head into the area we hunt to get a few things in order. Well, I'm on a bit of a mission right now without a lot of time to do it. It's raining and snowing, like heavy wet snow, and I'm heading down a very rugged bush road with the canoe on top of the tundra right now, with plans to paddle upriver and put out some of my stealth cam trail cams in the area that I'm going to be hunting in just a couple of days. Ideally, I would have liked to have gotten them out earlier. I've also brought in a bunch of wood from home that I think is going to be easier to paddle in by canoe. Of course, it's much quieter, but it's a pretty heavy paddle. I would have brought my freighter canoe. However, my freighter canoe is just too heavy for me to manage with a sore shoulder that I have. Switch this into 4x here. The last stretch of this road is pretty spirited. Well, it is really coming down. Did not pick a nice day to do this. I gotta paddle upriver. Well, paddling upriver, actually, the boat's trimmed really well with all this weight in the front, but I'm bringing about the max amount of wood that I'd want to paddle. Rain has not let up a bit and starting to get wet. Well, I'm gonna go find a spot for those trail cams. Rain's still heavy. I'm just gonna leave this firewood sort of on the bank, and when I get in here with my friends, we'll all haul it up to camp. But yeah, hopefully I can find a decent spot that's flat here. Seeing lots of sign here. These are big oak trees. Deer all foraging in here for acorns. And a couple of scrapes as well. So tells me that the rut's on. There we go. That's one of 4 of these new stealth cams I have, and I have it set up so it'll send a picture back to my phone. I'm gonna aim this right at the rub. This is the Stealth Cam Fusion 2 Max. Got it set up on a game trail here. This camera will tell us if anything's coming in and out of this area here. Okay, well, I'm gonna go set up the next one.
The Cold Steel 4 Max. This knife is made in S35 VN steel. It's a very hard kind of steel, and that means it's good for smacking around in the bush. And this is a 360 cam. So I'm going to put it on this. If you put it up against the tree will be blocking it. The turret on this thing goes 360. There's sensors all around. All right, it's working. Well, I better hightail it out of here. So, long trek back to the boat. When we hunt this area, we hike quite a distance from camp. So we are heading in. I brought the wood and got those trail cams set up. My buddy's here, my brother-in-law, Michael.
Yeah, let's go.
And me and Michael are bringing in like all our stuff to set up camp. Tomorrow is opening day of deer rifle season here in Ontario. Really exciting because we saw a big buck come into one of those stealth cams that I set up. And it was kind of cool because I could link all my buddies to those cameras, so they all get a feed coming into their phones as well, so we can be like, hey look, oh, you see that buck? Oh, I see it. Oh man,
Here we go.
oh brutal.
Here's a little bit of work.
I got the chainsaw. Well, this was not here last time. Good to bring a chainsaw when you're doing stuff like this.
The evening before opening day, my brother-in-law Michael and I headed in and picked a new spot to camp. The boat we use is my dad's old Canoe square back freighter canoe with a 6-horse outboard. The thing was built in the 70s. It hauls a huge load and still moves pretty quick.
We're doing it! Not a lot of time before dark, but we're doing it.
Once we unloaded the canoe, we got the wall tent set up and got settled in.
Well, we did it. We got all our stuff to camp. Still some light left too, which is nice, but we'll be setting up the tent in the dark, which is fine. I brought a lantern, we have headlamps and stuff, and we're just gonna have a beer. This is my Windbound Campfire Pilsner, brewed by Muskoka Brewery. You can buy it in the survival pack in LCBO stores. What do you think?
I like how it has that subtle hop.
Yeah, it's
But
got
it's
a
not-
bit of smoky finish and crisp. Yeah.
The next morning, I headed out to sit in a spot where we'd seen a deer on one of the trail cams the evening before. It was pouring rain, and even with a rain jacket and a poncho on, it was a pretty soggy sit.
It's raining.
Been sitting here for 2 hours now and I'm starting to get a little chilly. I'm going to sit here for about another hour and head back to camp around 10:30. My buddy Will is going to be coming into camp today, so I'm going to head down in the freighter canoe and pick him up around noonish.
is when it's so windy and rainy, nothing can hear those grunts. Back at camp, I strung up a couple tarps, cooked bacon and eggs, and then ran the freighter canoe out to pick up my buddy Will.
Looks like I ran into the wilderness paparazzi. How's it going there, Mads?
Not too bad, buddy.
That evening, we all headed out hunting with high hopes. Okay, well, I got my climbing stand out, and I'm actually hunting the scrape. Where I have the trail cam and we see 2 different bucks coming in, possibly even 3. I couldn't find a tree where I wanted to get set up. And because the tree's so small, I couldn't get very high for safety reasons. But that's okay, because I'm on top of a big hill. The scrape is maybe 100 yards away. That is it for our hunt today. I just came down from the stand, followed my thumbtack reflectors and met up with Will. And we're heading back to camp to get the fire going and get dinner. But pretty quiet out there. Felt like it was a good night, but no action. I didn't see any deer, but I saw Martin trying to eat a squirrel, which is kind of cool. It is a beautiful morning this morning. You can see the sun coming up right behind me, and one of the other cameras is getting, it looks like about 5 different deer through there. A couple does, a couple 6-point bucks, and a spike. There's deer around. The problem is they all seem to be moving at night. We've only seen 1 deer on our camera in legal hunting hours, so that kind of sucks. But the weather's supposed to take a turn for the worst. Tomorrow's going to be raining all day, so it'd be really nice if I could be successful before then. We typically hunt out a climbing stance that we set up in an area over sign, and sometimes switch our spots up day to day. I'd set up near the rub and scrape where we'd seen some big bucks and was feeling optimistic. So I have some of these Amer-step step-ups, they're called. And these just screw into the tree like this, and you can step on there. And with a bunch of them, you can stagger them and essentially make a ladder. That'll be so much faster and not as noisy in the morning. But to do that, I just set my tree stand up and then basically jump down from it. But I'm well up a hill here, and there's actually a big drop off right in front of the tree that my stand's on, so I don't really need to be much higher. Rod's here.
Yeah, bud. Time to grab me some deers.
Well, it is a consistent dumping of heavy, wet snow and rain. The other guys have decided to stay back at camp today. This evening, we all hunted this morning, but yeah, I don't blame them. And solid, nearly mile-long walk to even get to my stand, so hopefully it's worth it. The public land style of hunting we do is tough. Deer are super cagey, and there's a lot of country to cover. When it works, it's incredibly rewarding, but you definitely have to earn it. Camp food was great. We usually eat well on these trips. We had moose steaks that I cooked up over the fire and butternut squash with maple syrup, butter, and cinnamon, and a whole bunch of other good food.
Well, it is Thursday. We've been here since Sunday night, and no luck. I took Brad and Will back out in the freighter canoe. They had to leave, so it's just me and Michael here now. We're getting down to the last few chances here. If it gets down to the wire, we might try some Hail Mary things. Coming into my stand here, and I'm dragging a rag tied to my foot that's got synthetic doe and estrus urine on it.
Even with all the action we got on the trail cams early on, our luck just wasn't there this time. It's a little discouraging, but honestly, time spent with close friends and family in the outdoors is always worth it. Well, that's it. Michael and I have gotten everything packed up here and we are ready to go. We hunted in here for about 6 days and had no luck, despite the fact that we saw all these bucks on our trail cam. So live and learn, but you know, I'm not an expert at this stuff, and I kind of learn a bit as I go along. And we had a blast. I mean, at the end of the day, we camped out here. I got to spend some time with my brother-in-law, my cousin Brad, and my buddy Will, and we don't all get to see each other that much, and it's a really important thing, I think, to just like spend time with your friends, especially for, they say, men. As we get older, we become kind of lone wolves, and let me tell you, if you get a deer, it's a big bonding experience for sure. It really gives you respect for nature. You start to realize, man, it ain't so easy to just live off the land. There's a lot more to learn. There's a lot more that goes into this, and when you do harvest something, it kind of strikes a primal chord in you and connects you to the land. I've already got a few ideas for next year. We're going to try some pushes, rotate our hunting spots more often, and make sure our walk-ins don't cross major trails or sign. Always learning, always adapting. That's deer hunting.